Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, glory, and honor to the Most High Yahweh in the name of His Son Yahweh Shah, and greetings to the 12 tribes of Israel who are scattered to the four corners of the globe. Shalom. My name is Brother Yakanan, and this is Brother Aliyah, and we are Hebrew Chosen Elect here in Wilmington, Delaware, part of the Mashah Yasharala. We're here fellowshipping at 19 Lansing Lane at Rose Hill Community Center from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. You can please join us. And today's lesson is the lunar Sabbath does not determine the weekly Sabbath. And what we're going to do through the power and the Spirit, the Most High, in the name of Yahweh Shai, is we're going to go through the precepts and we're going to show you clearly and conclusively, along with other materials, that the lunar Sabbath does not determine the weekly Sabbath. All right? So first we're going to start off with the book of Genesis, chapter 1, and we're going to start 16 and 19.
Genesis chapter 1 verse 16. And Yahweh made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also.
Go ahead.
And Yahweh set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And Yahweh saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were fourth day.
What day was it?
The fourth day.
No, it was the first day.
The fourth day.
It's the fourth day. So right there from the door, we see where creation, that the Most High Yahweh, He created the moon on the fourth day. So that should be the end of it right there. But we're going to further go into it through the precepts and show you that the first day the moon was not created on the first day. All right. From there, we're going to go to the book of Numbers, chapter 10, 1 through 2.
You read to the 19th in Genesis?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The book of Numbers, chapter 10, 1 and 2, and then we're going to jump down to 9 and 10.
Numbers.
Yeah, the book of Numbers.
Numbers, first chapter?
10th chapter.
10th chapter, right.
Numbers chapter 10 verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Make thee 2 trumpets of silver. Of a whole piece shalt thou make them, that thou mayest use them for the calling of the assembly, and for the journey of the camps. And what they shall blow with them, all the assembly shall assemble themselves to thee at the door of the tabernacles of the congregation. And if they blow but with one trumpet, then the princes.
No, jump down number 9.
And if ye go to war in your land against the enemy that oppresseth you, then ye shall blow an alarm with the trumpet. And ye shall be remembered before the Lord your God, and ye shall be saved from your enemies.
Go ahead.
Also in the day of your gladness, and in your solemn days, and in the beginning of your month, ye shall blow with the trumpet over your burnt offering, and over the sacrifice of your peace offerings, that ye may be to you for a memorial before your God.
So the new moon, it is a solemn and high Sabbath, but it is separated from the weekly Sabbath, as you see. And we're going to go to Deuteronomy 16:1 and show you the beginning of the keeping of the months.
Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 1. Observe the month of Abib, and keep the Passover unto the Lord thy God. For in the month of Abib, the Lord thy God brought thee from out of Egypt by night. Thou shalt therefore sacrifice the Passover unto the Lord thy God, of the flock and the herd, in a place which the Lord shall choose to place his name there.
So the Lord had commanded Moses to keep the beginning of the month during the month of Abib. So this was the beginning of the keeping of the months, and this is separate from the weekly Sabbath that is being held. From there, we're going to jump down to the book of Samuel, chapter 20, and we're going to go to verse 5. And we're going to show that King David, he kept separate the weekly Sabbath from the new moon Sabbath. Book of 1 Samuel, chapter 20, verse 5.
First Samuel chapter 20, verse 5. And David said unto Jonathan, Behold, tomorrow is the new moon, and I should not fail to sit with the king at meat. But let me go, that I may hide myself in the field until the third day at even.
So this is David, and he has a quarrel with King Saul. All right, and what he's going to do is he's going to hide from King Saul until the new moon, so that King Saul doesn't exhibit his wrath upon him, that he's able to escape his wrath. All right, jump down to verse 24, verse 18, Salakia.
Then Jonathan said to David, Tomorrow is the new moon, and thou shalt be missed, because thy seat will be empty. And when thou hast stayed 3 days, then thou shalt go down quickly, and come to the place where thou didst hide thyself when the business was in hand, and shalt remain by the stone easel.
Okay, go ahead, keep reading.
And I will shoot 3 arrows on the side thereof, as though I shot at a mark. And behold, I will send a lad, saying, Go, find out the arrows. If I expressly say unto the lad, Behold, the arrows are on this side of thee, take them. Then come thou, for there is peace to thee, and no hurt, as the Lord liveth.
Go ahead.
But if I say thus unto the young man, Behold, the arrows are beyond thee, go thy way, for the Lord hath sent thee away. And as touching the matter which thou and I have spoken of, behold, the Lord be between thee and me forever. So David hid himself in the field, and when the new moon was come, the king sat him down to eat meat.
Go ahead.
And the king sat upon his seat, as at other times, even upon a seat by the wall. And Jonathan arose and Abner sat by Saul's side, and David's place was empty. Nevertheless, Saul spake not anything that day, for he thought something hath befallen him. He is not clean. Surely he is not clean. And it came to pass on the morrow, which was the second day of the month, that David's place was empty. And Saul said unto Jonathan his son, Wherefore cometh not the son of Jesse to meet neither yesterday nor today? And Jonathan answered Saul, David earnestly asked leave of me to go to Bethlehem. And he said, Let me go, I pray thee, for our family have a sacrifice in the city, and my brother, he hath commanded me to be there. And now, if I have found favor in thy eyes, let me go, let me get away, I pray thee, and see my brethren. Therefore, he cometh not unto the king's table. Then Saul's anger was kindled against Jonathan, and he said unto him, Thou son of perverse, rebellious woman, do not I know that thou hast chosen the son of Jesse to thy own confusion, and unto the confusion of thy mother's nakedness? For as long as the son of Jesse lived upon the ground, thou shalt not be established, nor thy kingdom. Wherefore now send the fetch him unto me, for he shall surely die.
Go ahead.
And Jonathan answered Saul his father, and said unto him, Wherefore shall he be slain? What hath he done? And Saul cast a javelin at him to smite him, whereby Jonathan knew that it was determined of his father to slay David. So Jonathan arose from the table in fierce anger, and did eat no meat the second day of the month, for he was grieved for David, because his father had done him shame.
So this is the second day of the month, and it's showing that the second day of the month is 2 days after the new moon. Okay? So from there, we're going to go to the book of, the same book, but the next chapter, and we're going to read 1 through 6. '21.
Then came David to Nob, to Ahimelech, the priest. And Ahimelech was afraid at the meeting of David, and said unto him, Why art thou alone, and no man with thee? And David said unto Ahimelech, the priest, The king hath commanded me a business, and hath said unto me, Let no man know anything of the business, whereabout I sent thee, and what I have commanded thee. And I have appointed my servant to such and such a place. Now therefore, what is under thy hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread in my hand, or what there is, present. And the priest answered David and said, There is no common bread under my hand, but there is hollow bread. If the young man have kept himself at least from woman. And David answered the priest and said unto him, Of a truth woman have been kept from us about these 3 days.
How many days?
3 days.
Okay.
Since I came out, and the vessel of the young men are holy, and the bread is in a manner common, yea, though it were sanctified this day in the vessel. So the priest gave his hollow bread for there was no bread there but the shewbread that was taken from before the Lord, to put hot bread in the day when it was taken away.
So what we did is we established that this is 3 days since the new moon. And after these 3 days, this new moon, they're preparing a hollow bread, which is the showbread. So now we're going to show you what day the hollow bread was prepared on. That being the Sabbath day, according to the law. We're going to go to the book of Leviticus, chapter 24, 8 and 9.
Leviticus 24, 8 and 9.
Yep.
So this is 3 days
After the new moon.
beginning of the new moon.
Yep, and the Sabbath day.
And the Sabbath day is 3 days later.
Yes. So that totally obliterates also that the new moon begins the beginning of the week as well as the month. There's no way possible if it's 3 days after the new moon that he's going into the temple with a Ahimelech and he's having the showbread. And we're going to establish that by going to the book of Leviticus, chapter 24, 8 and 9.
Leviticus chapter 24, verse 8. Every Sabbath,
Every what?
every Sabbath, he shall set it in order before the Lord continually.
How long?
Continually.
Continually. Go ahead.
Being taken from the children of Israel by an everlasting covenant.
Uh-huh.
And it shall be Aaron's and his sons, and they shall eat it in the holy place. For it is most holy unto him of the offerings of the Lord made by fire, by a perpetual statute.
Perpetual.
Perpetual statute. And the sons of, and
Now this is the hollow bread now.
Come.
Okay, so you got to show, okay, I guess it's the 7th verse, right? It may be on the bread of a memorial. Okay.
Come.
All right, we got to
Oh,
read
Salakia, read 7. Yeah, he's right.
Right, read 7.
I wrote that down wrong. My apologies.
That's right.
And thou shalt put frankincense upon each row, that it may be on the bread for a memorial,
That's the hollow bread.
Come.
Okay, go ahead.
even an offering made by fire unto the Lord. Every Sabbath he shall set it in order before the Lord continually.
When shall we do it?
Continually.
Uh-huh.
Every what?
Every Sabbath.
Every Sabbath.
Right, every Sabbath.
So every Sabbath the showbread is to be made continually. Go ahead.
Being taken from the children of Israel by an everlasting covenant. And it shall be Aaron's and his sons, and they shall eat it in a holy place. For it is most holy unto him of the offerings of the Lord made by fire, by a perpetual statute.
So it's a perpetual statute for this new hollow bread to be bought in every Sabbath and be made and to be eaten by the Aaronites. And we're gonna further show this by going to the book of Exodus, chapter 35, 1 through 13.
Exodus what now?
35,
Okay.
1 through 13.
Exodus chapter 35, verse 1. And Moses gathered all the congregation of the children of Israel together and said unto them, These are the words which the Lord hath commanded, that ye should do them. 6 days shall work be done, but on the 7th day there shall be to you an holy day, a Sabbath of rest to the Lord. Whosoever doeth work therein shall be put to death. Ye shall kindle no fire throughout your habitation upon the Sabbath day. And Moses spake unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, saying, This is the thing which the Lord commanded, saying, Take ye from among you an offering unto the Lord. Whosoever is of a willing heart, let him bring it, an offering of the Lord, gold and silver and brass and blue and purple and scarlet and fine linen and goat's hair ram skin dyed red, and badger skin and shittim wood.
Go ahead.
And oil for the light, and spices for an anointing oil, and for the sweet incense, and onyx stone, and stones to be set for the ephod, and for the breastplate, and every wise parted among you shall come, and make all that the Lord hath commanded. The tabernacles, his tent, and his coverings, his attachments, and his bars, his pillars, and his sockets. The ark, the staves thereof, with the mercy seat, and the vow of the covering, the tables, and his staves, and all his vessels, and the shewbread.
And the showbread. So we also so we showing again that the showbread is the hollow bread that was being spoke of, that was being made on the Sabbath day. It's also the showbread that David was eating, and it's also showing that there's 3 days past the new moon where he was having the showbread, and that's establishing that it's 3 days after the new moon being the Sabbath and not 7 days. So we can't take and say that the new moon is the beginning of the week when it's 3 days after the Sabbath when David is eating showbread, which is only 3 days later.
Yeah, because Ahimelech would have had to have prepared it for the Sabbath. So when David finally came to him, it was 3 days after the new moon, and so because it was the Sabbath, Ahimelech had it prepared for the Sabbath. So he was able to give David and his men some of the showbread.
And they could not have been laid with a woman or anything, showing that they were clean. From there, we're going to 2 John 1 and 6. Second John 1 6.
Which have borne witness.
No, 2 John 1 6.
2 John, right.
Right there.
And this is the love that we walk after his commandments. This is the commandment that as ye have heard from the beginning, ye shall walk in it.
So the command that we have heard from the beginning is that we should be keeping a 7th-day Sabbath, and that the 7th-day Sabbath is not according to the moon. Because if it was established according to the moon, when we read in Genesis, we would see that the moon would be made on the 1st day instead of the 4th day. So we are commanded not only to keep a lunar Sabbath holy, but we are commanded to keep the weekly Sabbath holy as well. To establish that commandment, let's go to the book Exodus chapter 12, 1 and 2.
Exodus chapter 1, verse 2. Reuben, Simon,
Exodus 12.
Oh,
Yeah. No, you good. So this is when we came up out of Egypt, and this was given to us as the beginning of months. And this is where established it with Moses and Aaron. Go ahead.
Exodus chapter 12, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of month.
No, the beginning of weeks.
Beginning of month.
Okay.
It shall be the first month of the year to you.
So this month that the Most High is establishing is the month of Abib, which is the beginning of months to us. And this is when we first established the keeping of the months and of the new moons when we had came out of Egypt with Moses and Aaron. All right. Let's go to the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary, and we're going to go to page 98 and 99. I want you to read this right here. The highlighted part.
The seventh day week is a Semitic origin. The Egyptians had a week of 10 days. The Jewish week had its origin in the creation account.
And we just went through that. We read through the Bible that we had our 7th day established through the creation account. Genesis, go ahead.
And ran consecutively, irrespective of lunar or solar cycles. This was done for man's physical and spiritual welfare. The biblical records are silent regarding the observance of the Sabbath day from the creation to the time of Moses. Sabbath observance was either revived or given special emphasis by Moses.
So we just read that too in chapter 12 that it was revived when Moses and Aaron left throughout Egypt during the time of the Passover, with the beginning of the month being Abib, and that's when the calendar was reestablished. All right. We're going over this because we want to show you that by not keeping the proper Sabbath day, it's punishable. You know what I mean? And we're going to go through this, and we're going to show you that it was punishable not keeping the 7th-day Sabbath. And keeping it based on the lunar Sabbath is going off for the beginning of weeks. So we're going to go to the book of Exodus, chapter 31, 14 through 16.
Exodus chapter 31, verse 14. Ye shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that defileth it shall surely be put to death.
Shall be what?
Surely be put to death.
Uh-huh.
For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. 6 days may work be done, but in the 7th is the Sabbath of rest, holy to the Lord. Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death.
Go ahead.
Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generation.
How long?
Throughout their generation.
Uh-huh.
For a perpetual covenant. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in the 6th day, for in the 6 days, the Lord made heaven and earth.
So in 6 days, we know the Most High made a heaven and work. That's why we work a 6-day week. And go ahead.
And on the 7th day, he rested and was refreshed. And he gave unto Moses, when he had made an end of communion with him upon Mount Sinai, 2 tables of testimony, tables of stone written with the finger of Yahweh.
So we were given this as a perpetual covenant to keep this as a weekly Sabbath from the beginning, given to Moses, and this was punishable by death. And to further show this, let's go to the book of Numbers, chapter 15, 32, and 36. We're supposed to be fellowshipping, we're supposed to be doing the work of the Most High, but we're not supposed to be doing any servile work at all. You know what I mean? And the Most High gave us 6 days to work, and then he gave us the 7-day Sabbath as rest as he rested. You know what I mean? He's even keeping the Sabbath. You know, he's established that because he's done this, and now it's up to us to keep this and keep this going throughout the generations as a perpetual covenant between us and him. The book of Numbers, chapter 15, 32 through 36.
Numbers chapter 15, verse 36.
32
32.
through 36. Yep.
And while the children of Israel were in the wilderness, they found a man that gathered sticks upon the Sabbath day.
So him gathering sticks, that represents him doing servile work. Go ahead.
And they that found him gathering sticks brought him unto Moses and Aaron, and unto all the congregation. And they put him in war, because it was not declared what should be done to him.
Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Moses, the man shall be surely put to death.
He shall what?
Surely put to death.
Shit, go ahead. So if this was during the time of our ancestors and any man was out doing any work collectively, he was going to be put to death. Go ahead.
All the congregation shall stone him with stones without the camp. And the congregation brought him without the camp, and stoned him with stones, and he died, as the Lord commanded Moses.
Come. Now that's a brutal death right there. That's how serious.
That's capital punishment.
That's what I was going to say to the words of my mouth. That's capital punishment right there. And the whole congregation put him outside the camp and stoned him. You know what I mean? So that's how serious it was for us to be keeping the 7-day Sabbath. You know what I mean? So if you're following behind anybody who's teaching a lunar Sabbath, they going off, man. Mm-hmm. They going off. And it's a punishment of death that you can be put to death. I mean, that's how serious it was. Our ancestors was commanded by the Most High. Look, I rested on this day. You're going to rest on this day. You're going to keep a covenant between us. And if you don't keep this day, you're going to be put to death. You know what I mean? From there, we're going to go to the book of Matthew, chapter 5. It's not Salaki. We're going to go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 58, 13 and 14. 13 through 14. Book of Isaiah, chapter 58, 13 and 14.
Isaiah chapter 58, verse 13. If thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord honorable, and shout honor him, not doing thy own ways, nor finding thy own pleasures, nor speaking thy own words.
So we should be taking delight in keeping the Sabbath on the 7-day Sabbath. We should be going out doing the works. We should not be having sex, doing our own pleasures, as some Israelite camps is teaching that it's okay for you to have sex on the Sabbath, which is going on because you're making yourself unclean, as we just used David to bear witness, because he would not have been able to eat the showbread because he would have been labeled and deemed unclean. You know what I mean? So if you got a camp that's teaching that folly right there, you can't lead it going off. Right. It's not all right to be having sex on the Sabbath. It's doing your own pleasure. Yeah, how much more pleasurable can you get?
Right. That's why he told him to refrain from woman these 3 days.
Fact.
Because he would have been unclean to take the showbread.
Come.
So that's why he asked him that. So the same thing here is that brothers who are saying it's all right to have sex on the Sabbath, you're unclean.
That's right.
So that's doing your own pleasure.
So like you come into the congregation, you bring an unclean spirit in too, because you don't have discharge from yourself, and you making the congregation unclean because you don't lay with your woman. Y'all both coming in bringing an unclean spirit. Go ahead.
Then shalt thou delight thyself in the Lord.
What shall you do?
Delight thyself in the Lord.
So you should be able to delight yourself in the Lord, going out teaching the people, waking the people up on the 7-day Sabbath. doing his works according to the 7-day calendar that was put forth from the beginning. Go ahead.
And I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth.
So the Most High says, as long as we're doing this perpetual covenant, He's going to put us on a high, and He's going to put us back and reestablish us as we begin to refine our culture by keeping the 7-day Sabbath. Go ahead.
And feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father.
So we're going to be brought back into our customs, and He's going to feed us with the promises that He has showed our forefather Jacob that we're going to have, that He's established with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Go ahead.
For the mouth of the Lord hath spoken it.
So the Most High's mouth has spoken these things. As long as we keeping His covenants and we going back to the 7-day Sabbath, He's going to bless us and He's going to keep the promises that are ordained for us. From there, we're going to go to the book of Matthew, chapter 5, 17 through 20.
Matthew chapter 5, verse 20.
Verse 17.
17?
Yeah.
Think not that I come to destroy the law or the prophets. I'm not come to destroy but to fulfill.
So Christ said He didn't come to destroy this covenant right here. He'll come to fulfill it, and that's Him walking in it as well. Go ahead.
For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall it no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled.
Go ahead.
Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments, and shall teach a man so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven.
So if your camp leader is teaching you to follow this lunar Sabbath,
right,
you're going to be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. You know what I mean? You're going to be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. Go ahead.
But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven.
So we not only to do them, but we also to teach them, so that we are called great in the kingdom of heaven, so that we reestablish our the Most High's law, statutes, commandments, and this is the beginning of it right here by keeping the Sabbath. Go ahead.
For I say unto you that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven.
And that's just what some of these modern day camp leaders that's teaching you to go outside the law, that these modern day Pharisees teaching you to go off like the Pharisees was going off. From there, we're going to show that we were led away keeping the Sabbath. We're going to go to the book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 1, and we're going to read 41 through 47. It's going to be in your Apocrypha. The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 1, 41 and 47. Salakia. So these are the things that were going on during the time of the Greek captivity. You got to remember we've gone through several different captivities, this being the 7th captivity, representing the completion of our captivities. So this is what happened when we went into this Greco-Roman captivity. The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 1, 41 through 47. Take your time.
1 Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 40.
41.
41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people.
So the Most High, not the Most High, Salakia, Antiochus Epiphanes, calling himself the Most High on earth, meaning God on earth, he wanted us all to be one people. Go ahead.
And everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agree according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion.
Of course, like we got coons today, we had coons back then, and they wanted to go along with the customs of the heathen, because the other heathens was going along with it. Why not just follow along with it too? And that's just what they did. Go ahead.
And sacrifice unto idols.
They did what?
Sacrifice unto idols.
Go ahead.
And profane the Sabbath.
What did they do?
Profane the Sabbath.
So, as Israelites, we profaned the Sabbath. We put it aside and we went on to these customs. We started going on. Go ahead.
For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane Sabbath and festival days, and pollute the sanctuary and the holy people.
So we were polluted by taking on the Greek customs, and we were putting aside the Sabbath days. Remember, this is a covenant between us and the Most High, so we became as the heathen. Go ahead.
Set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine flesh.
Sacrifice what?
Swine flesh.
That's how dirty and unclean we was going off. We were sacrificing swine's flesh, doing according to the heathen. It's kind of similar like these pork roasts you see on these Fridays.
Same thing.
Same thing. Go ahead.
And unclean beasts.
Them crabs and them shrimps and stuff. Having these crab boils and crab feasts. Same thing going on.
That they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and
Profanation. Go ahead.
To the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. And whosoever will not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die.
So it was punishable by death that we could not keep the Sabbath days. And that's what Antiochus set out to do. He set out to make us like the heathen, and we went off and were not keeping the Sabbath days. And we were forward in doing these things, and that's why we're in a predicament that we in right now. Just going ahead and doing just as the heathen wanted us to do. There was another part I wanted, but can't find it right now. All right, from there we're going to go to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 17, 21 to 27.
Jeremiah chapter 27 verse 17.
17, 21, 17. Yeah.
But if ye will not hearken unto me to hallow the Sabbath day, and not to bear a burden, even entering in at the gates of Jerusalem on a Sabbath day.
What verse is this?
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 17, 21 and 22.
21.
Oh, okay, 21. Okay. Go ahead, Al.
21 through 27, my bad. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. Start over. 21. Take it from top.
Thus said the Lord, take heed to yourselves and bear no burden on a Sabbath day.
So if it's something that's burdensome, you should not be doing them. We should not be cooking no full course meals on the Sabbath, as some people is teaching now too. There's no way you should be throwing a whole banquet meal, cooking a barbecue on the Sabbath. Go ahead.
Nor bring it in by the gates of on the Sabbath day. Neither do ye any work, but hallow ye the Sabbath day, as I commanded your fathers.
Go ahead.
But they obey not, neither incline their ear, but made their neck stiff.
Hold on, right now we're doing the same thing. We're making making our neck stiff. A lot of us is at the mall right now shopping, seeing what deal we can find, you know. All this stuff is burdensome. You know what I mean? We're worried about going shopping and stuff on the Sabbath. It's still a hallowing the Sabbath day for the Most High. Go ahead.
That they might not hear nor receive instruction.
And that's what a lot of people do when they see us out on these street corners. We out there teaching us. They stop their ears. They don't want to hear the instruction that we should be keeping these Sabbath days. Go ahead.
And it shall come to pass, if ye diligently hearken unto me, saith the Lord, to bring in no burden through the gates of this city on a Sabbath day, but hallow the Sabbath day to do no work therein. Then shall there enter into the gates of this city kings and princes, sitting upon the throne of David, riding in chariots and on horses, they and their princes, the men of Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And this city shall remain forever.
Go ahead.
And they shall come from the cities of Judah, and from the places about Jerusalem, and from the land of Benjamin, and from the plain, from the mountains, and from the south, bringing burnt offerings and sacrifice, and meat offerings, and incense, and bringing sacrifice of praise unto the house of the Lord. But if ye will not hearken unto me, to hallow the Sabbath day, and not to bear a burden, even entering in at the gates of Jerusalem on the Sabbath day, then will I kindle a fire in the gates thereof, and it shall devour the palaces of Jerusalem, and it shall not be quenched.
And right now, that's what's going on. We get eaten up alive, not establishing the Most High's holy day, which is the weekly Sabbath. When the Most High is telling us that we keep this holy day as the weekly Sabbath, He's going to reestablish us. He's going to put us back on high. So it's important that we keep this weekly Sabbath and we keep it set apart from what is called the Lunar Sabbath. From there, we're going to go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 20, 12 and 13.
Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 12. Moreover, also I gave them my Sabbath to be a sign between me and them, that they might know that I'm the Lord that sanctified them.
Go ahead.
But the house of Israel rebelled against me in the wilderness. They walk not in my statutes, and they despise my judgment.
And that's what we're doing again today. You bring it back up to today. You can tell somebody all day that we're supposed to be keeping the weekly 7-day Sabbath, and they're going to tell you, oh, we're going to church tomorrow on Sunday. But the same foolishness. Go ahead.
Which if a man do, he shall even live in them. And my Sabbath they greatly polluted. Then I said, I would pour out my fury upon them in the wilderness to consume them.
So the Most High says He's going to pour His fury out on us. And that's what He did then, and that's what He's doing now. Because we polluting the Sabbath day. See, some of us having swine roast, sitting there eating crabs in the newspaper, all type of dumb stuff. And the Most High, He let His fury be pulled out on us. That's why we're getting killed and everything throughout every city in America and around the world. Because we decided that we're not going to keep the Most High Sabbath. From there, we're going to go to the book Sirach, chapter 43, 6 through 8. The book of Sirach in the Apocrypha, chapter 43, 6 through 8.
Sirach chapter 42,
43. Yeah.
43.
60. He made the moon also to serve in her seasons for a declaration of times and a sign of the world.
So the Most High, He made the moon to be established as our new month. He made it to be as a high holy day, but it does not establish the weekly Sabbath. Go ahead.
For the moon is the sign of feast, a light that decreaseth in her perfection.
So we know that the moon is established when the new year comes in. We also know that 15 days after the first new moon, that is our Passover. You know what I mean? So the Most High has created that to be established for our seasons, but it does not establish our weekly Sabbath as we just have showed and appointed it. Because the Most High has showed us these things. Go ahead.
The month is called after her name, increasing wonderfully in her changing, being an instrument of the armies above, shining in the firmament of heaven, the beauty of heaven, the glory of the stars, and ornament giving light in the highest places of the Lord, at the commandment of the Holy One, that they will stand in their order and never faint in their watches.
So the moon does establish our holy days and establish our feast days. It does establish the beginning of our months, but it does not establish our weekly Sabbath. And we're going to further show the separation between the new moon and the weekly Sabbath. We're going to go to the book of Amos, chapter 8, 4 through 5. The book of Amos, chapter 8, 4 through 5. Chapter 8, 4 through 5. Well, you can read 4 through 6.
Amos chapter 8, verse 4. Hear this, O ye that swallow up the needy, even to make the poor of the land to fail, saying, when will the new moon be gone, that we may sell corn, and the Sabbath, that we may set forth wheat.
So right there in verse 5, it shows that the new moon is the new moon and that the Sabbath is the Sabbath. Go ahead.
That we may set forth wheat, making the ephah small, and the shekel great, and falsifying the balances by deceit.
So by keeping the weekly Sabbath according to the new moon, that's falsifying the balance and causing deceit right there. Go ahead.
That we may buy the poor for silver, and the needy for a pair of shoes, yea, and sell the refuse of the wheat. The Lord hath sworn by excellency of Jacob, surely I will never forget any of their works.
All right, come. That's all we need right there. All right, from there we're going to go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 66 to 23.
Isaiah 66, verse 23. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, says the Lord.
So that's the Most High establishing that we come from one new moon to another. We establish that as a day of worship. Mm-hmm. And we also go from one Sabbath to another Sabbath, being the weekly Sabbath, and we come to worship. And that's the Most High establishment. And that's plain upon tables, you know. And that's as clear as it gets. And what I also wanted to show is that in every other language except the English language, that it's still the Sabbath day in every other language. You know, in Arabic it's the Sabbath, in Chechnyan it's the Sabuta, in Indonesian it's the Sabutu, in Spanish it's the Sabado, and in every other language besides the English language, it maintained being the Sabbath. Even in French, it's called Bon Sabbat. You know what I mean? So it never changed. And as we established in the calendar, that the rest of the world took on our 7-day calendar because the Egyptians, they had a 10-day week. So establishing, even though it's a Gregorian calendar, it's based off the Hebrew 7-day setting, which they took every day and named it after a false god. But by blaspheming and profaning the Sabbath, as we showed in the book of Maccabees, the Greeks, they took and made it Saturn's day. And that was the greatest blasphemy that they could do. If you go into the book of Maccabees, it shows that they established a temple and they changed it into the temple of Jupiter Garzim, and Jupiter also being the Greek word for Saturn, and the Romans, they worshiped the same god being Saturn. I mean, they just changed the name. So we could get that, I think, in the book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 6, if I'm not mistaken. And we could further prove that too as well. Okay, yeah, boom. Start at verse 1.
Second Maccabees chapter 6, verse 1.
Uh-huh.
Not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers, and not to live after the laws of Yahweh.
Come.
And to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter, Olympus, and Garazim of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwelt in the place.
Go ahead.
The coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people, for the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles who dallied with harlots and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places.
Go ahead.
And besides that, brought in things that were not lawful. The altar also was filled with profane things, which the law forbiddeth. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts.
So it wasn't lawful for us to keep our Sabbath days and ancient feasts. You see that they changed the name of the Most High's temple into the temple of Jupiter. And as, like I said, we go into the Roman culture, Jupiter's name was changed in Saturn, being the same god. So they took and named the Sabbath day Saturn's day, and keeping it instead of keeping it the Sabbath day. Go ahead.
Or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. And in the day of the king's birth every month, they were brought by bitter constraints.
They were brought by what?
Bitter constraints to eat of the sacrifices.
So they were brought by bitter constraint to keep the king's birthday. That's where we got these birthday celebrations from as well. Go ahead.
And when the feast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus carrying ivy.
Go ahead. Now jump down to verse 9.
And whoso will not conform themselves to the manner of Gentiles shall be put to death.
Go ahead.
Then might a man have seen the present misery.
Go ahead.
For there were 2 women brought who had circumcised their children.
So they were teaching their children to keep the laws of the Most High.
But when they had openly led round about the city, the babes hanging at their breasts, they cast them down headlong from the wall.
Go ahead.
And others that had run together into caves nearby to keep the Sabbath day secretly, being discovered to fill it, were all burnt together because they made a conscience to help themselves for the honor of the most sacred day.
So these people, we were killed for keeping the Sabbath day, and the heathen, they didn't want us to do these things because we were showing honor to the Most High. You know what I mean? And this was the weekly Sabbath day, and they changed these days and times also, and it's established in the book of Daniel as well. You know? So we are supposed to keep our Sabbath day, the 7-day Sabbath, as we have established from the beginning. And as you can see, the heathen, they have taught us their ways, and we have moved away from it. And also, we also show the separation of the holy Sabbath weekly day and the new moon. And that's what we set out to establish today. So through the precepts, we hope this was edifying, and we showed that the weekly Sabbath day was separate from the lunar Sabbath month and not being the beginning of our weeks. And with that, we say shalom. My name is Brother Yakanan. Once again, I want to give all praise, glory, and honor to the Most High Yahweh in the name of His Son Yahweh Shai. And greetings and blessings to the 12 tribes of Israel on this Sabbath day. And I hope you were able to go through the precepts and see the understanding that I was able to gather going through the precepts. And you can join us here at 19 Lamson Lane, once again at Rose Hill Community Center in Newcastle, Delaware. If you want to give any free will offerings or any donations, you give the donations at a cash tag Hebrew Chosen Elect, a cash app. You know, you can see our new YouTube channel, which is HCE Reloaded. Excuse me. Unfortunately, our older channel has been taken down. You know, I guess we putting up too much content. We rubbing Esau the wrong way. You know, but we're gonna keep on pushing. You know. And with that, we say shalom. Home Yisrael.
Home Yisrael.
Home Yisrael.
Home Yisrael.
Home Yisrael.
Home Yisrael.
Shimmy Haushai.
Shimmy Haushai.
All right.